Hey VC, Big Star 1000 with a very quick return of Revolutions. I've decided that I would do a shooting after 20 or so records that I've been playing. Confinement, isolation, whatever you want to call it, that sort of, you got time. I mean, for me it's a bit strange because as a teacher I'm meant to be on holidays right now. This is my first week of the Easter holiday, so in confinement, isolation, I don't really feel it like probably other people do, as I spend a lot of time by myself since Sarah died in May 2018, almost 2 years ago, to quite recently. I spend most of the time here by myself, so I am on holidays as I should be, and I'm alone anyway, so it's kind of, it's not quite the same as other people who've got another type of routine or setup. But anyway, I mean, it's hard. I guess it's hard for other people. Like, I see my mum in France, who really can't leave apartment block, and it's been like 2 weeks, and it's gonna go for weeks on end. It's crazy. But for me, I've got a big garden. I do lots of work outside. I mean, I'm just, I'm currently repainting my house from top to bottom, the outside. So, I've got tons of things to do. So today is Saturday, and I have started my day with this wonderful album by Bill Withers. Bill Withers died today. And by the way, on death reports, the other time, last video, by the way, sort of a tangent within a tangent. I appreciate all the comments of the last video. It was great to talk to people. I responded to everyone. Thank you. Last video I said that Catherine Ribeiro had died, and it's what I read. It was reported that she had a stroke and died, but she didn't die. She had a stroke. Stroke is pretty bad though. I mean, my father and my grandmother died in the last couple of years. Both died of a stroke, and they're not very pleasant things to have. So I'm guessing she's in a bad way. Anyway, Bill Withers really died. So rest in peace, Bill. And this is one of my favorite Bill Withers albums. And I really love there's a tune called Lisa there, which is just electric piano, Fender Rhodes, and Bill Withers singing. Very beautiful. This features contributions, Dorothy Ashby's on this record, Jose Feliciano. I think it's a wonderful record. Adjustments, it's called. People tend to go for the other albums. The live at Carnegie Hall is to die for too. It's brilliant. One of the best live albums I know of. And before that, this morning I was playing this record sent to me by my good friend Mike Keddy, Bostonian Reggie as we used to know him. He hasn't made a video in a long time, but we talk daily, Mike and I. And he sent me a package a couple of months ago with lots of really great records, and a particular highlight was this. This is The Gist. The Gist is the band that was formed on the ashes of another favorite record of mine, the Young Marble Giants, band from Wales, trio, Alison Staton on vocals, and the two Moxham brothers on bass and guitar, and a drum machine. Very minimal post-punk, sort of very early indie pop, a record that I've championed many times on my channel. And this is a follow-up by the same sort of similar lineup. It has Young Marble Giants and other people like Viv Goldman, and lots of other people. This is just a brilliant record. Thank you, Mike, again, and I love this. It's kind of like an art pop, early indie pop record. Last night I was revisiting this absolute monster, European jazz monster, which I bought in Germany last year. This is Missing Link by Volker Kriegel. I should be in Germany right now, actually. I was meant to take 20 kids to the German exchange that we have, and it was cancelled because of, you know what? But I bought this in Kassel last year. This is one of the highlights, surely, of the NPS catalogue. Volker Kriegel, the German, sorry, I'm holding it the wrong way. The German guitar whiz. This has got a lineup with Albert Mangelsdorf, Eberhard Weber plays on this, plays sax. Alan Skidmore is on sax. This is absolutely to die for. It's a kind of European jazz funk, 1972 European jazz funk of the highest order. Not cheap, but really worth it. This album turned 50 last week, the recording of it. I mean, this album is a milestone in modern music. Everybody should know it. Everybody should have it. I feel like Jack Black in High Fidelity when he talks about blonde and blonde to the customer and says it's going to be okay. Don't tell anyone. It's going to be all right. If you don't have this, don't tell anyone. You know, it's just get it. It's going to be okay. Bitches Brew it's a peak of, you know, modern music's creation. You know. From the sleeve to the lineup. I'll read the lineup because it's a thrill to read those names. Of Miles, Wayne Shorter, Lenny White, Bernie Maupin, Chick Corea, Jack DeJohnette, Harvey Brooks, Dave Holland, John McLaughlin, Joe Zawinul, and Larry Young play on this. Was there ever a better band assembled by anyone? You know, at any one time on some of these songs, you've got 3 keyboards playing at the same time, 2 drums. It's a frenzy. And I just, yesterday I was playing this and the track Spanish Key just got me going. And so I was playing this for a couple of reasons. Number one, because it's the 50th anniversary of its recording. And also because I was watching the Birth of the Cool doco on Netflix, and so that reminded me of it. And I was thinking of the artist Matty Clarwine, who painted this. He painted black people so well. It's just something about him. His depiction of African American, people was so incredibly realistic, but he also painted white people, which I decided to pull out my copy of this Jerry Garcia and Howard Wells collaboration, another jazz funk kind of record, just great record. I highly recommend this. Hood Roll. He liked very large-breasted women. Matty Clarwine. He made no. He had no shame in that. That was his thing. And this has got obviously Howard Wells' magical Hammonds playing. Is all over this. Very highly recommended. This record is beautiful. It's got some flute and trumpet and other things. It's a jazz funk record. I always have a soft spot for Oriental records, and so I go digging in I've got an Oriental section in my record collection. Not a very big one, like maybe a couple of cubes. And one of the highlights of my Oriental collection is this record, which wasn't cheap to buy at the time when I bought it. Mosaic of the Orient by Elias Rabbani. Elias Rabbani is a Lebanese composer who worked in Beirut. And this is for music for Nai, Bouzuk and guitar. Nai is a Lebanese flute. Bouzok is obviously it's a type of a guitar, you know, and guitar is a type of guitar. Yes, this is so freaking funky. This record, it should be legal to be that funky. Like the drums on this, it is insane. This is a Grieg pressing, 1972. Elias Rabbani, and that's I'll just give his name there. I think if it'll focus. And then I also revisited some Indian records. This I can't tell you very much about. I picked this up years ago, cheap. It's violin and what's the other, Chennai, which is the sort of clarinet that he's playing there. This still a beautiful couple of ragas. Yes, I can't really tell you very much about it. I'm going to pretend, but it's a beautiful record. And I also revisited this fantastic French release of Nikhil Banerjee, the Bengali Ravi Shankar. Well, it's kind of very much in the vein of what Ravi and people like Alia Ustad Khan or people like that did. This is on the wonderful label Disque Espérance, French label. This is a killer release, very good. Le sitar de Nikhil Banerjee. Some jazz, some funk, some revisited The Call by Horace Tapscott and the Pan-African People's Orchestra. Surely one of the highlights of free spiritual jazz. What can I say? This is dope, really. I mean, you know, everybody should own this. It's raucous. It's this big band going crazy, and he's conducting the band, Horace Tapscott. Yeah, this is an original pressing, I think, which again wasn't cheap, but it's the records that you pay money for, but you need to play them. They're superb. It's a record that I bought in Lisbon, Portugal, where you can find plenty of these. Black Power, Mornais in Caldeiras. This band was from, I think, Angola or Cape, one of the Portuguese colonies. But I think they recorded this in Lisbon. They all gathered there, but I think they were from, some of these guys were from Angola, maybe, or Mozambique. Portugal had basically three main colonies: Cabo Verde, Angola, and Mozambique. So it's one of the three, but I can't remember which one. It doesn't really matter profoundly, you can look it up. But this is a great sort of James Brown style record from the 1976. Yeah, they're from Cabo Verde. It says that on the sleeve. Yeah, okay, well there you go. I bought this in Lisbon when I went there. Beautiful record, Black Power. On a completely different tip, I revisited Cochin Moon by Harumi Osono. I was talking about Pacific last week, and this week I was playing this. This is a beautiful ambient electronic, but Eastern influence record. You know, like it's got a very Bollywood sleeve, and it sounds like this. And obviously, Harumi Osono is a synth with I mean, you know, he's working Yellow Magic Orchestra. You know, what can you say? This is the Light in the Attic reissue. It's fantastic. Here's a record I haven't played forever and ever. I bought it probably 10 years ago, and I don't think I played it ever since. The Lyman Wooded organization with Saturday Night Special. This was the first reissue of it. The original of this is like, it's out of my price range. I mean, it's out of my league. It got reissued a few times, once by Wax Poetics, and then more recently. Oh, there's a siren going in the background. You know, that goes well with these visuals. I mean, I would be very annoyed to pay big money for this, because there's a couple of really fire tracks on this. The opening track is just so to die for. But then there's other things which just go, well, you know, it's all right. So overall, it's not, I wouldn't say it's an essential record, but it's a great record nonetheless. Originally on Strata East. Now, however, a record that everybody should own is this record here, which I hadn't played for so long, but my goodness. I mean, if you were to make a top 10 of spiritual jazz, for example, this would have to be in there for sure. It is so densely beautiful. The lineup: McCoy Tyner, obviously on piano, Alice Coltrane, Wayne Shorter, Gary Barth, Ron Carter, and Elvin Jones. I was reading the lineup of Bitches Brews. It's just as good, perhaps 1970. And produced by Duke Pearson, another great jazz luminary. This is absolutely killer. This is on Milestone, I think. My copy is a bit beat up. No, it's on Blue Note. Excuse me, it's on Blue Note. Spiritual jazz on Blue Note. Amazing. And another high watermark of spiritual jazz, but this one a French record that is really superb from start to finish. Is Chorus by Michel Roch. Michel Roch was a French sax player, and I think he's blind. And he released 2 or 3. I mean, I've got 2 of his records, and both of them are so good. This is as an original. Again, out of my league, 300-400 euros, but this was reissued by Souffle Continu, a French Parisian label. It's the label Souffle Continu, and you know, highly recommended. Beautiful record, French spiritual jazz with spoken word vocals throughout. Yeah, what can I say? Amazing. Another great record, Francis Bébé. Francis Bébé was from Cameroon, I think. Cameroon. He made very different styles of music over the course of his career. Electronic music, and also very traditional African music. And this is called psychedelic sanza. The sanza is a thumb piano. Like a kalimba. Sanza is the same thing, and on this there's a lot of like small, very short tracks where he just expand. It's a bit like a music for airports, but with African sanza, if you it's kind of it's got this kind of ambient quality to it. This was re-released a few years ago by Born Bad Records. It's actually a compilation of some of the best cuts. Fine. Let's talk about ambient music, and here is one of my all-time favorite ambient records, the Penguin Cafe Orchestra. Although, is this really ambient? I don't know. It's kind of an avant-garde classical. There's a track on this which you must check out. It's just quite unbelievable that nobody talks about this, but on side 2 there's a song called The Sound of Someone Who You Love Who's Going Away and It Doesn't Matter. This track is a long track. It's half a side, you know, Simon Jeffs was a genius. There's no question about this. The first two Penguin Cafe Orchestra, this one specifically it should be very high up in everybody's lists of ambient classical music, modern classical, but this is absolutely to die for. And here's another beautiful ambient record. This is Virginia Ashleigh, Promise Nothing. So Virginia Ashleigh is an English ambient musician, and again you could say that she falls in the sort of Brian Eno realm of music. She sings, and this is a compilation. The first side, the first 4 songs are, I think, a first EP, which the name escapes me, and the second side is a compilation from her wonderful record. The name escapes me right now. Like, I can't think of the name. It was showed. I was watching a video by Dale Gatefold 33. I think he commented on my last video, and then he said, "Oh, I've made videos," and he was showing this record. You know, when you watch it, you'll see it. But Virginia Ashleigh, from Gardens, from I can't remember the name of the album, from something Gardens. But this is wonderful ambient music. Doesn't matter. Hey, I don't know everything. I don't pretend to. Okay, almost there. I revisited one of my favorite sort of, I don't know what this record falls into. It's kind of post-rock, indie rock. I don't know how you would. It's a band called Karate. They're from Boston, I think. And this is, I think, the second record in place of Real Insight. And this is a record that I blind bought about 12 years ago in my local record store. This is from 1997, and I'm saying post-rock because it's a record from Chicago from 97. I think of Tortoise and, you know, those kinds of bands. This is really killer. You know, it reminds me a bit of Slint at times. It's a beautiful record, a post-rock record from the late 90s from Chicago. But it's more like an indie rock, the vocals. The songs are very engaging. The first song I recommend, just take a listen to the first song. She's called what? New, I think. But a very expensive record these days. I was talking in my last video about American primitivism, and so it's sort of, I continued and I revisited the debut album by Leo Kottke on Tacoma Records, and you know, this is a great sort of rural country blues, country folk mixed with you know, this kind of American primitive kind of stylings records. It's so cheap. I mean, I've never seen this record for any more than, like, you know, $12–15. It's a cheap record compared to, say, the John Fahey records, which are always more expensive. In a completely different style, this band from my home region in France, they're called Traveling, and a trio fronted by a keyboard player whose name is Yves Hasselman. And he plays the piano. Interesting enough, he's a friend of my aunt when she was in the 20s, and she used to hang out when she was at uni. She used to hang out with some of those guys, people from the band Ange, which are also from my hometown, near my hometown. And these guys who are from Besançon, which is the capital town of the region I come from. And this is touted as a kind of like French soft machine type of, but it's not really. I mean, it's a beautiful prog record. The first track which is an 18-minute long, side-long kind of track, is beautiful. Voici la nuit tombée. I like this record. I don't think it should be compared to the Soft Machine or Caravan or Gong or whatever. It's a great record in its own right. Got a couple of CDs to finish with. I've been revisiting this band called Essendon Airport. Essendon Airport were a band from Melbourne, a post-punk band from the late 70s, early 80s, and they released a slew of singles and a few albums. And these are two of their this is probably their most famous album. And you can find these probably on CD, as I've had these for a few years, those two. But on LP they're just practically impossible to track that. A friend of mine just bought this one, and I think he dropped about $300 on his on a copy of the original for this. So just to show you that they're very. But because he scored that, it just got me to think and revisit Essendon Airport, and you know, they're kind of a, you could say they're kind of a no wave band, like in the start, you know, like in the sort of New York no wave, you know, screechy saxes and you know, very post punk aesthetics and kind of this sort of sense of humor that the no wave band had. I recommend that you check out the song How Low Can You Go? And that's a very sort of ambient, it's a track that I've, you know, almost every time I make compilations for people, I put it on because it's an easy kind of like ambient-ish post-punk track, very, very cool. And the last thing I'm going to show you is this first LP by The Art of Noise. Very underrated band, The Art of Noise. A very idiosyncratic sound with Paul Morley and Trevor Horn from the Buggles on this. Yeah, they were very, very forward thinking. The sounds that you get from this, like on songs like Beatbox or Moment in Love, the sounds are just so original for the time, you know, and been sampled to death actually. And this is a great album. I got this for $1.99 at a CD sale in my local music shop. So I've been playing this a bit. So that's all I've got for you today. About 20 records, as I said, a wide array of things, I hope, as I always aim to do in my videos. Well, I hope you enjoyed, and you know, talk to me. Love you all.